Hello, you're listening to Nick RP Green. No internet synonyms here, what you see is what you get. Recording on the 6th of August 2012, and today I'm going to be listing my top 5 and worst 5 ultimates in League of Legends.
Demacia! Get some!
Ultimates. Most often a champion's most powerful and most defining ability. When you think of Annie, you think Tibbers. When you think of Garen, you think massive giant Demacia sword. And when you think of Draven...
Not Draven. Draven.
Sorry, when you think of Draven, you think of double spinning axes of death. With the exception of Udyr, Karma and Jace, each champion has an ultimate they can learn at level 6, and in some form has an effect on any given fight. I'm sure the argument about which ult is best, and which ults are shite, have been thrown about internet forums since the game was released, and for most LoL players, this won't be particularly anything new or interesting. But as League of Legends is something that's become pretty big in my life in the last 4 months, I can't help but talk about it and share my opinions. It's likely that what I say here is different from what many others will think. It's not that I'm wrong or that I'm right, it is merely my personal opinion on these particular champions. But do feel free to comment, argue, call each other noobs, contemplate my mother's sex life, or anything else that the LoL community would normally do in a public text-based environment in the comment section below. Let's start with the worst, shall we? As I said prior, a champion's ultimate is normally what defines that champion. Everyone knows Darius as the guy with the giant axe who slices everyone in two, just as much as everyone knows Teemo as the little shit who puts fucking mushrooms everywhere. And that's coming from someone who actually plays Teemo. Which is why my number 5 in worst ultimates goes to Veigar's Primordial Burst. Don't get me wrong here, I'm not saying it's a bad ultimate. The damage output from it can be huge, particularly useful in the laning phase as it deals a percentage of damage based on the target's ability power. Great against the opposing mid laner, not as great later on when you switch targets, but it's still damn powerful. It's the fact that there isn't anything special about it. It's just a targeted single burst, similar to his Q Baleful Strike. Brand's ultimate is a swirling ball of flames that jumps between targets, whilst Malzahar suppresses the target and gives Mouse freaking laser eyes. Veigar's just lacks that special something, and leaves him with an ult that just doesn't look that exciting. Powerful, but a little bit boring. This one was really difficult, because I actually found it hard to pick 5 ultimates that I considered to be really bad. Veigar's was one of the earlier ones that I thought of, but due to the reasoning behind it, I knew he would be my number 5. This one did take a little bit of research, and may well have been Heimerdinger, but this champion's ultimate just doesn't suit him in my opinion. My number 4 is Volibear's Thunderclaws. Thunderclaws is cool. Volibear is after all known as the Thunder's Roar. Each auto attack gives him lightning blasts that jump to nearby enemies. It sounds really awesome, but is that really useful on a tank? Volley's main use in team fights is to take damage and to apply crowd control. That's pretty much the role of any tank. Volley's Rolling Thunder can toss enemies into awkward positions, whilst his majestic roar applies fear to enemies, making them run around in panic. But his ult just isn't that useful for a tank. He isn't there to supply damage, and with very little attack speed on a tank, you aren't going to be able to make much use from it. Compare this with other ultimates for tanks such as Amumu's Curse of the Sad Mummy, applying an area of effect stun, or even better, Galio's Idol of Durand, that forces enemies to attack the tank, the last thing that they should be doing, and Volibear's ult just seems like it's been given to the wrong champion. Number 3 is going to get me shouted at by a certain someone, but after my experience with it, I couldn't not say it. My number 3 is Gangplank's Cannon Barrage, and for one reason only. The hit chance on it is random. This global ultimate can be damn handy in a fight due to its slow effect, but the fact that the 25 cannonball hits are completely random on whether they hit or not, in my opinion, just makes it extremely unreliable. The times I fired it off whilst laning onto another lane that is either not going to get a kill or be killed if I don't fire it, only to find that the slow was okay, but the enemy didn't take a single hit from it, was just too frustrating and made me feel like I'd wasted it, when that same slow could have helped me secure a kill on my own lane, as I have other abilities to rely on for the damage. Random chance is inevitable in LoL, that's pretty much the whole point of critical strikes, but having it on an ultimate is far too unreliable, even if that ultimate is global. This next one could also get me shouted at by a different person, but I know this one is a popular one for worst ultimate. I have experienced it so many times. Number 2 is Jarvan 4's Cataclysm. This ult is great at stopping enemies from escaping, for pinning down one champ, or for causing a massive upset in the middle of a team fight. But the fact that the terraforming affects allies as well as enemies causes so many problems. Melee champions do not work well with Jarvan, because when he ults an enemy champion, and you're not inside the terraform, there ain't nothing you can do but sit by and wait until a usually tanky Jarvan deals very little damage to the foe he's trapped himself with. Even ranged champions can struggle if the enemy has moved to the other end of the Cataclysm. It's really great for a gank, but it can be more trouble than it's worth in a team fight. For you Jarvans out there, please save Cataclysm to pick off the last champs in a fight rather than open the fight with it. It's just not useful. It really isn't. Right. Most people should really see this one coming. It's pretty much commonly agreed among my friends that I play with. My number 1 worst ultimate is Miss Fortune's Bullet Time. Anyone who has played against Sarah Fortune will know how easily avoidable her ultimate is. The damage from it isn't that great to begin with, but the issue is that each burst isn't particularly powerful. You only get a massive amount of damage from it if the enemy takes a lot of hits from it. By the time the enemy has taken 1 or 2 weak hits, they've already walked out of it. Any strong CC cancels it, and even MF herself can cancel it by clicking to do something else, which accidental clicking completely ruins the ability outright. The AD and AP bonuses are only any use for it if the target is hit multiple times, as an individual wave only hits for plus 0.65 combined. Far too avoidable and thus far too weak to actually make much of a difference. Bullet Time, you are my worst. And so from bad, let's go to good. Number 5 in my best is a little bit of a biased one, as it's the only champion ultimate that I have ever gotten a pentakill with. But this is my list, damn it, and I'll choose whoever the hell I want. At number 5, it's Fiddlesticks' Crowstorm. This ultimate is just too damn funny not to put in this list. The channeled flash makes it perfect to just drop in from seemingly nowhere. The ability visuals and sounds are awesome, particularly with the surprise party skin, which I'm seriously considering as my first skin that I ever buy. And whilst normally it can be easily countered, put together with Zhonya's Hourglass, this ultimate can deal so much damage to the entire enemy team. In addition, unlike AoE ultimate champions like Nunu or Galio, Fiddle is free to move, attack and use other abilities while Crowstorm is active, allowing him to use Terrify to fear an enemy and keep them mindlessly wandering around the AoE damage pool. It is fantastic for ganking and a great initiator in a team fight, and at time of recording, still the only champion I've achieved a pentakill with. I love Fiddlesticks, and this ultimate is the main reason why. Fiddlesticks and my next champion are the only 2 champions in my top 5 that I own and play with. Admittedly, Veigar was the only champion I own in the 5 worst. So I'm not overly biased, but bias aside, this champion really does deserve this place. My number 4 is Nocturne's Paranoia. This is without a doubt the best ultimate on any jungler in the game. Nocturne was finally on the free champion select a couple of weeks ago, and after my first kill with Paranoia, I instantly fell in love with him, and Nocturne became my first 6-3 champion purchase. As primarily a jungler, I always look at champions as potential junglers, and Nocturne is definitely my favourite. Paranoia just messes with people's heads so well. It can easily bypass any wards for ganking thanks to the reduction in sight and the huge range of the jump that only gets bigger as you level it up. Getting Nocturne straight in, unnoticed, in a matter of seconds. In team fights, this ultimate is fantastic at disrupting and disorientating enemies. As the team fight starts, pop the darkness, the enemies can't see a thing, allowing your teammates to fight against little resistance, whilst you jump to the main focus and do as much damage as you possibly can before anyone else knows what's happened. More often than not, I'll activate the darkness, and my team has killed someone before the vision has returned, as the enemy didn't see what happened. Meanwhile, I'm beating down on their carry, undetected by anyone but him. So much disorientation, and such a great tool for ganking. Hands down, this is the best jungle ultimate. This next one is actually split between 2 champions. You guessed it, number 3 is Twisted Fate's Destiny and Gate, and Shen's Stand United. With 2 ultimates that are so similar, it was impossible to split them apart, as both have slightly different things about them that make them unique. but it's the core function of the teleport that makes them so overpowered. Having another champion suddenly appear into a fight can change any encounter, particularly during the laning phase, and whether it's Shen shielding his ally or TF who should immediately stun you with a gold card, the appearance of another champ immediately disrupts the odds. Whilst TF's does have a range, Shen's is global, and he can teleport onto any champ from anywhere, and is the reason he is banned so often in ranked play. My penultimate ultimate comes from a champion I actually have very little experience of. Most of the champions on my list I have either played myself, or if not, I have friends who regularly play them, but this one's a bit of an exception. But I know enough about him to know that his ultimate is one of the best. Number 2 is Mordecai's Children of the Grave. This ultimate steals life over time, and if the enemy dies whilst inflicted with the curse, Mord gets his own personal clone of that champion for the next 30 seconds, though all that clone can do is auto-attack. So yeah, Mord drops his ultimate onto the enemy AD carry, the carry dies, and then your team is 6v4 for the next 30 seconds. There really is no more I can say about this ultimate. If you get the clone, it is fantastic, and with a team who focuses correctly, there is no reason why you shouldn't get the clone. If you need further convincing, then the winner of Songs of Summoner 3 was Area of Defect's song all about Mordecai's 6v4. Listen to it, because it's fantastic. Link is in the description below. And so, number 1, the very best, my ultimate, the one ultimate I think stands above all others, the pinnacle of the journey we have. Yeah, it's Karthus. Requiem is noted by most players that Milo says Relax plays against that it is the noobiest ultimate in the game, though I have had much of the same since I picked up Tryndamere, but it cannot be denied that Requiem is so goddamn good. I did consider not putting it here because it's too obvious, but it cannot not be here. Any champ that escapes on little health, Karthus presses R and he gets a kill. Doesn't matter where they are, he gets a kill. Coupled with his passive, if you fight a Karthus 1v1 and just about get the kill, he'll just kill you right back by activating his ultimate from beyond the grave. I really don't have to explain this one. You all knew it was coming, and you really can't argue against it. Go on, try. Try and argue against it. You can't, can you? It cannot be physically done. Now stop trying before you give yourself a hernia. Seriously, you're turning blue. Well, I hope you enjoyed or were at least interested in my selections. And as with my last League of Legends video, I'll note that unsurprisingly my summoner name is Nick RP Green, so feel free to add me. Don't forget to start an argument in the comments section. I'm looking forward to seeing the responses from this one. And as always, thank you for watching, subscribe if you like what you've seen, and I will see you next time.
Pentakill. Aced.